Welcome to day two of the Kansas State University 2020 Swine Day Virtual Conference. My name is Jason Woodworth, and I'll be the host for today's events. Yesterday, you had the opportunity to listen to some of the applied swine nutrition team talk about their latest research. Today, we're going to talk about feed safety and feed processing. For the first 45 minutes, myself, Drs. Chad Polk, Cassie Jones, and Jordan Gephardt will talk about our feed safety research with emphasis on the work we've done with African swine fever virus. We'll have approximately 15 minutes of questions after our presentations before flowing into our feed processing section, where Drs. Charles Stark and Chad Polk will talk about some of their latest research, after which they'll answer questions for approximately 15 minutes before ending this year's events. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the sponsors for this year's Swine Day. We've had the opportunity to work with some of the leading global swine and feed industry suppliers, and without their support for our program, we would not be as successful as we are today. I'd also like to bring your attention to our Applied Swine Nutrition website before we get into some of the feed safety research. At this location, you can find a lot of swine nutrition resources, calculators, tools, and other nutrition information. In particular, if you click the Swine Day link on the left-hand side, you'll be able to find the recordings from yesterday's and today's sections, as well as the research reports that were released this year. I'd also like to bring your attention to our link at the top left corner, which is a swine nutrition guide. And over the last 12 to 18 months, we've worked with a couple of our graduate students to increase or to update our swine nutrition guide. And there you'll find a lot of swine nutrition related information that would help improve the profitability of your pork production systems. I have the opportunity to lead off our Feedmill and Biosecurity section. And this is a topic that really wasn't discussed that much prior to PED entering into the United States in 2013. However, at that time, Kansas State University was well positioned to be able to start researching and collecting data to help support our industry. From a facility perspective, our Cargill Feed Safety Research Center is a BSL Level 2 facility where we can have a large-scale feed manufacturing research capabilities to be able to conduct all of our feed safety research. We also have a BRI here on campus. The BRI is a BSL Level 3 facility, actually, and is one of only 2 locations in the United States where African swine fever research can be conducted. At the center of all of our program, though, is the people at Kansas State University. Our leading applied swine nutrition team and feed science and grain science programs, in addition to the support of our diagnostic medicine friends at the Kansas State Vet School, allowed us to create a feed safety initiative and focus efforts in being able to help support our industry and feed safety and biosecurity needs. As mentioned, Feedmill Biosecurity was not really thought about very much prior to 2013, even though biosecurity is a well-known concept within the swine industry. How important, though, is Feedmill Biosecurity? Well, feed may not be viewed as the highest risk vector of transmission, but it could have the largest reach. For instance, feed mills are built to efficiently receive ingredients from suppliers originating all around the world. They blend these ingredients together and then produce a homogeneous feed that's finally distributed to a number of different locations. We also know that the infectivity of viruses in feed can be very substantial. Using PED as an example, 1 gram of feces from an acutely infected pig could contaminate up to 500 tons of feed, with each gram of feed being potentially infectious. This is the equivalent of 20 25-ton trucks going to 20 different farms and being able to bring infected feed to lead to infections on those farms. We've also had the opportunity here at Kansas State University to work with defining the minimum infectious dose of African swine fever in water and feed-based matrices. While most of this research is conducted with exposing animals one time to a set amount of virus, through advanced modeling techniques, we've been able to show that with the natural feeding behaviors of pigs, in this particular case right here, 20 feeding or drinking events, the amount of virus needed to increase or to cause infection, or the probability of increasing infection, was much lower just through the natural feeding behaviors of these pigs compared to a 1 exposure, which is typically done with these types of models. In our FSRC, we've been able to conduct a lot of research to look at what happens if a feed mill does bring in contaminated ingredients. And what we've been able to find is that the feed mill becomes widely contaminated. A number of studies we've looked at the rise of PED contamination within a virus or within a facility, and what we can do from being able to decontaminate the facility or reduce the infection through flushing or sequencing. In this particular graph here on the right, we show that after PED does enter into a mill, the level of contamination on all the surfaces throughout the mill persists for a wide range of time, even after 4 subsequent flushes of PED negative feed occurs. Consequently, the importance of preventing the introduction of infections into a mill, because it's almost impossible to properly decontaminate the mills. We also need to acknowledge that the feed mill can be a hub for transferring viruses to other locations. Trucks going back and forth from farms to the mills, and then trucks entering and exiting from ingredient facilities and subsequently to other feed mills and farms really creates a great pathway for disease transmission and allows, again, these feed mills to be hubs for disease transmission throughout our industry. And with that little bit of an introduction, I'm going to hand it off to Chad Polk right now to be able to talk about some of the additional work that we've done here at Kansas State, focusing a lot of time on the mitigation techniques we've had to remove viruses if contamination occurs.